conversation around leadership. It's my pleasure to have you join us on the show. Opportunity to listen to every thought. How many of them can actually give us evergreen songs? How many now? And guy, it's going to be a different conversation. More importantly, the role of democracy in nation building. But we're going to pick one of the critical elements of democracy, which is the opposition. I would focus on it today. I mean, you look at how the opposition in the country had been structured. Let's quickly take it back to 1999 when this, democracy came back. I mean, we had it. The presidential election was a two-horse race. It was against two candidates from the same region. That's Chief Olufalaye of the Alliance for Democracy and Chief Olusegun Obasanjo of the People's Democratic Party. Well, a lot of people felt like, the decision of the military, to pull that out was probably as a compensation to what happened on the 12th of June 1993. Remember, the late Moshood Kashima Olawale Abiola, the election that still was adjudged as the freest in the history of our democracy, or maybe our independence, let me put it that way, at the Hope 93 election. And Obasanjo came into office from 1999 to 2007. There were rumors of the third term agenda. I remember I watched an interview from by the now director of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, a former member representing Ikorodu federal constituency in the House of Reps. That's Honorable Abike, where she was talking about the fact that the third term agenda was not a rumor, that Reps members were offered money in suitcases to support the third term agenda of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Of course, Obasanjo left office, and we knew the drama that followed how he left office. The fact that everyone thought, it was going to be maybe Peter Odili that was going to be the governor, the presidential candidate of the PDP. The mobilization was strong, and out of nowhere, we just saw a Katsina state governor that almost nobody knew who he was, that the late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. And then the entire drama came up. During the campaigns, it was not around, to the point that Obasanjo had to, I think it was at a campaign in Benue State where Obasanjo had to address the crowd, and then I called Yar'Adua on phone and put it on the mic at the campaign gun, and I said, Umaru, they say you are dead, and everybody laughed. And I'm like, maybe we were trying to, maneuver the teething stage of our democracy as at that time. I mean, a lot of things that happened those times could happen. I'm not sure if they can right now. The fact that the former President Olusegun Obasanjo used about 4 different Senate presidents in 8 years, or the fact that there was a certain James Ibori that literally milked his states to the ground. I'm not sure if all of those things, if a president can, just because he doesn't like the Senate president, I remember I also watched an interview from former Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audioogbe, and he said when they wanted to remove him as chairman of the PDP, that he was invited to Obasanjo's house, and after they ate and they did everything, and then Obasanjo gave him his resignation letter to sign. And I'm like, hold up. How do you write my resignation letter on my behalf? And that was all of the things that was going on back then. Then Umaru Musa Yar'Adua came in, of blessed memory. We knew what happened. It was a way it took the likes of the then Minister of Education, that's Obi Ezekwesili, to come out and say, you know what, tell us the state of this man. Don't let us be rude in proxy. Then the whole back and forth. His vice president, Goodluck Jonathan, was sworn in, and at the end of the day, Goodluck Jonathan also got on the ballots, and then he won his own election from 2011 down to 2015. And by that time, there has been a massive merger between the major opposition party, the then ACN that was controlling the Southwest, the CPC that had some massive millions of votes coming from the north, some disgruntled element of the PDP, the 5 governors that left the PDP, a faction of ABGA. Then the APC came up. And then the 2015 election, Jonathan lost. A lot of people were saying, he's a gentleman, he's a this. I mean, we have reservation about that position, by the way, because if you look at where his strengths are coming from, and then you look at if you follow the politics of Ekiti, there's something they call Iboidosi. Iboidosi is like the game changer of vote in Ekiti. It happened during Fayose and Fayemi. Yes, that was what happened. So the election was, Fayemi was coasting home, and then they brought Iboidosi. They said it was rigged, and then so that was what was playing out in 2015. Jonathan was leading in some of the votes that came in, the early votes, but then you compare what comes in from Bayelsa, which is supposed to be the smallest state in Nigeria. You look at Enugu State, you look at some of those states that Jonathan was leading. Then the election, the results started coming in from Borno State, millions. Then from Kano State, from Sokoto, from Gombe, and then it was just APC, 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 and you could always read the handwriting on the wall that this election is done and dusted. Wow. We also knew the whole drama around Senator Rᴏᴏᴏ, all of the things at the collation center, and it was just a whole lot of mess. But we've been able to sustain a transition sequence from 1999 to 2007. From 2007 to 2015, the PDP lost, the APC came in, we are 2015, we are 2019, we are 2023. If anything at all, the fact that we've been able to sustain that transition is a good deal for us. But in all of this, we've had an opposition that seems to perform well at the subnationals than at the national. We've seen states where political parties that are a bit relatively unknown has held sway. For instance, in Ondo State, when the former Minister of Health and the former Governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, won his election on the platform of Labour Party, a lot of people knew that it was not the party. It was just probably if Mimiko had contested as an independent candidate in that election, he would have defeated the late Olusegun Agago of the PDP. It was very clear, and a difference of the Alliance for Democracy. Mimiko came in because he was a grassroots politician. He had been at the different level of the development of involvement in election in Ondo State, and he won that election. We've seen it play out at different times, but of course, it's always been between the progressive, whatever English the other party wants to call themselves, the AD, the AC, the ACN, the APC, that transition. But PDP had always been on this other side. They boasted to rule, that they will rule for 66 years or 600 years, but after that they lost in 2015. And since they were thrown out of power, it's been a struggle to hold it at the center, and almost every election cycle the numbers of PDP keep shrinking. The last election, it was very clear that the Labour Party was the spoiler for the PDP in the election, because states that were, predominantly PDP strong states went to the Labour Party. In fact, Delta State, that produced the vice presidential candidate of the PDP, which was the outgoing governor of the state, Governor Okowa, the PDP didn't win the state. Labour Party won the Delta State. So these were states that had always been the PDP strongholds. But the Labour Party had about 6.1 million votes. The PDP had about 6.8 or thereabout, or 6.9. And then the president won with over 8 million votes. So the question a lot of people were asking is this: what had been the fate of other opposition parties since after those elections? We had 3 elections on the 11th of November